Hi, this is Ashishar Bidekar and welcome to my podcast, The ARP Show. I'm thrilled to introduce today's guest, Dennis. Dennis is recognized as a global voice of CX, that's customer experience. He has over 3 decades of expertise in guiding some of the world's foremost brands in refining their customer journeys. Some of the notable names include FedEx, AT&T, McDonald's, and others. All of them have greatly benefited from his consulting insights. He's ranked among the top 25 voices in the CX industry. His leadership roles at flagship events like CEM Africa, CX NXT UAE stand as testimony to his commitment to the craft. His podcast, CX in the Wild, coupled with his YouTube channel, offers audiences a curated glimpse into the ever-evolving world of customer experience. Over to you, Dennis. Do share your life journey and your vision for CX.
Thank you, Ashish, for having me here. It's been a wonderful year traveling from country to country, interviewing the front lines, call center agents in some of the most dangerous places in the world. And I'm just happy to share the insights, the adventures, and this conversation with you, Ashish.
Great, great. So as I said, mentioned to you, the format of the show is where we have experts like you who talk about, top areas or top 5 tips or trends in a specific domain of their expertise. So since you are an expert in CX, it would be great if you could share some insights on what are the top tips for a superior CX, and that would be really helpful for the audience. Over to you, Dennis. Yeah.
Thank you. I think the most important thing I can say for customer experience professionals who are attempting to make a difference within their organizations or in their own practices is an approach that I like to use, which is both from the outside in and inside out. So from the outside in, I look at reputation, reach, and relationships. Reputation is really about appeasing the social media algorithms. Reach is about appeasing the search algorithms. And relationships are all about using technologies, your CRMs, your marketing automations to foster the relationships with your audiences. But then you also have to think about how to connect directly one-to-one with personalization or experiences that matter. And I call that the inside out, or my 4E process. And in my 4E process, I'm really talking about the economic impact to customers. Do they get a value? Is their experience with you efficient? Is it easy for them? I think about their emotions, having how are they feeling or adjusting to the experience that they're having. And finally, I think about being empathetic, and that's about walking a mile in their shoes. And I think, Ashish, what most people miss about customer experience and walking a mile in someone's shoes is they get the getting inside someone's shoes part correct, but they often miss the walking the mile part. And I think that's the customer experience is about a journey in the customer's shoes, not exclusively empathizing with them.
Got it, got it. So, in essence, I really like the framework because essentially you can use this framework in any workflow, right? Any business outcome, any workflow, this is relevant. Also, would you say that things like, let's say, mystery shopping or random market visits, or the senior management talking to customers on the field, in the field, etc. Really, if they use this framework, would really help them get insight from their customers and ensure that all the workflows are in sync. But at the core of this is that listen to your customer, right? You can't be corporate headquarters in ivory tower and decide or plan products or services or other workflows for your customers, right? So that's very relevant. What would be your second tip for the audience?
My second tip I would probably say is when it comes to understanding your audience, one of the things that I do differently in my practice than others do is I look at the amount of conversations inside the internet. So I use social listening. So let's say, you as an example, let's say I was helping you with your customer experience. I would pick your topic keyword and the keyword podcast. And I would look at all the conversations that's happened around those two keywords over the last 2 years to identify a seasonal trend of when audiences are actually engaging with podcast content on the internet. And from there, I would let you know which months you had the best opportunity to cut through the clutter and which months were the most challenging, or which days were going to be the most challenging, or which weeks. And by doing that, it allows you to create the content and the narrative that matters for you and your audience and place it in the time period throughout the year that has the best opportunity to appease both your audiences and the algorithms. This methodology that I use can also be correlated with seasonal revenue. And this is how I provide instant value to brands by connecting their content to their revenue opportunities, not throughout the entire year, but at strategic places where it can make a difference. Because I think internal teams typically have a great handle on their seasonal revenue, and what leaders are really hoping for is just an incremental boost at certain time periods of the year to show growth. Because as the market gets more saturated with content, more competitors enter the market, technology, things like AI make the competitive set bigger. We're really hoping for just small wins, a couple of wins throughout the year that can make a difference with customers, to capture their attention and invite them to be part of the longer term subscription to content or brand that we all hope for.
Great. So could you share some use cases or case studies, highlighting this specific point?
Well, okay, first of all, most of my case studies are under NDA. So
Okay.
I used you as an example just to give a specific tactical use of how you can use data. Many people I think you'll talk to, Ashish, will be talking about CSAT, or maybe they're going to talk about customer lifetime value. And I think they're all right about that. No data probably is incorrect. But I share with you the social listening insight because that's the one that most CXers don't implement, and most people within organizations who are looking for a new opportunity to succeed can find it with the social media.
Got it. So what would be the next tip which you would like to share?
What do you think your audience wants to hear about?
So maybe, for example, we talked about CX, something maybe on the lines of implementation, right? Because it's good in theory, but what are the challenges in implementation? That could be a very valuable point.
Sure. In my experience, many of the challenges have to do with contractual obligations within an organization to existing solution partners. So what I mean by that is you may have a CRM or a data and analytics or a CX platform that is existing that may not be in full use. There's a 3 to 5, 10-year contract, and that contract is impeding the business's ability to invest in new software tools. So that is a really challenging discussion to have within an organization. Do you want to break the contract? Do you want to maximize the contract somehow? And so because this fiscal environmental condition exists within most large organizations, our attentions can be shifted away from the technology and to the customer in order to rally support for whatever change it is we're going to make, either on the technology side or the adoption side. And I think the most insightful way I've seen this done recently is by taking QR codes and placing them in key conference rooms around your organization. And when the employees take a picture of this QR code, the QR code plays a video of the customer explaining their particular challenge or need. Why is this important? Very simple, right? You can get a free QR code reader, upload a video of your customer, and it's almost the most easy thing you can do. But the impact it has at randomly through fostering a connection between the customer and the worker, and seamlessly moving throughout the entire organization, creates a cultural touch point for everyone in the organization to align and agree with or disagree with, foster conversation. And the net result is whoever is in charge of that program is now wielding a conversation piece that goes all the way up to the boardroom. And that is the thread that they can follow to activate a change in a contract or new budgets to adopt the existing software to empower an organization.
Oh, this is really interesting and innovative idea, because what you said is extremely relevant, because unless each and individual person in a company or an organization does not share the bigger picture and is not aligned with the customer voice or customer experience, you would have workflows, or you would get initiatives which are working at cross purpose. But when you really keep customer at the focus, then the next question would be that, hey, you know what, this is a great customer insight. What can I do to align whatever I'm doing to make his experience, the customer experience, better? And so this is a very great way of gently nudging people towards and having a customer focused outlook in whatever they're doing. Yeah, excellent. When you say about such initiatives, I guess communication is something which is crucial when you want to really spread the customer experience vision within an organization. So what in your view are some of the things which need to be done from a communication or internal communication perspective?
Internal communication can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. And because I know on your podcast you like to just add value, I'll just get to the communication I think is most important of all of the communications, which is incentives. What do I mean by that? Oftentimes you have cross-functional teams. We've come a long way in CX. We now have cross-functional thinking that is applied to transformation within organizations. But with that cross-functional teamwork comes contradicting incentives. So the IT team has a different incentives or bonus goal than the marketing team or the HR team. And because these incentives are not aligned, they cannot produce effectively for their leadership and for the customer at the same time. So when we effectively communicate the disparity in our incentives across our teams in a way that fosters a realignment of incentives or shared incentives, that communication and that conversation is the most important conversation any CX leader should have with their leadership.
Excellent. I mean, one can really see that if because money is a very, very big and strong motivator, and if as you've mentioned, if they are working at cross purposes, the whole thing is really going to fall flat. So it's a very important thing to keep in mind. So what would be the final tip which you would like to give for the CX journey?
I think the final tip, the most important thing if I had to give your audience a number one idea for 2024, great timing on this podcast, capturing the summary of 2023 going into 2024. I could say a lot of things, AI, technology, but I still think that the most important thing that you should focus on doesn't cost you any money to create great CX, and that's teamwork. Teamwork is fostered most by a sense of safety. So innovation takes place in safe zones within the culture of an organization. So if you as a leader or a participant can remove fear, uncertainty, or doubt within your programs, your colleagues, your culture, then your teamwork will thrive. And with those aligned incentives, establishing an outside in and an inside out approach to customer experience, you really possess the frameworks and the foundations of any great customer experience program.
Great, fantastic. I think the last point, kind of encapsulated the entire CX vision. So Dennis, in your experience as a CX expert, could you share any case studies without taking names of some programs which really delivered significant business impact in terms of revenue growth or cost reduction or CSAT quality?
I would say that, I've had programs that have done things like find $50 million a year in unrealized revenue just by understanding the connection between the customer, the retail location, and the supply chain. And I say that because many people don't think about how important the supply chain is to the customer experience. We're focused on the messaging, but as you follow the steps backward, past the organization out to your suppliers, you will find that there are efficiencies or opportunities to be had to drive big revenue. So that'd be one case study. I would say the other interesting case study I would point to is the relationship between the time of the year, supply chain, and pricing. I'll give you an example. You might think that sweaters should be discounted during the summer. So you would have a strong inventory during the winter seasons, and you would liquidate the inventory during the summer. But if you took a real close look at your customer, you would find that in some markets, sweater costs can increase during the summer and your inventory can increase because, as an example, women's sweaters in the office place, when we were in the working environment, they are combating AC, air conditioning in their environments. So by listening to your customer, you can adapt your supply chain, your pricing model, and to your customer, and you can create huge revenue opportunities by just simply measuring more what your customer is doing during which season of the year and connect that to your products.
Wow. So this is great. No, essentially, it is not taking information or data at the face value, but digging deeper. Because when you talked about this, frankly, I'm sure none of the audience would even have thought of this aspect, right? That this is a point to be considered. And something like a supply chain decision can't be done overnight, right? Unless you plan, unless you get it right, and unless you have the customer linked to the customer, it won't really fly. So great. Thanks, Dennis. This gives a great perspective. And thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in. Do subscribe, share, like this podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get it. Bye for now. Talk to you soon.